back to the channel, guys. Another week, another episodic review of The Last of Us. This time we are on episode 5, which is called Endure and Survive. Survive and Endure. It's a bit of a hefty episode, but before we dive in on what we like, anything we didn't like, don't forget to leave a thumbs up if you do enjoy this. Feel free to subscribe as well if you're brand new to the channel. And it goes without saying, guys, this is going to contain huge spoilers for the episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, add this to your watch later list and come back another time. So we start off with the episode with a lot of anarchy. There's a lot of cars being set on fire. People are being butchered in the street. And in true sort of Last of Us style, in the TV series at least, we go back a little bit in time. So we're not going right back to sort of pre-virus. We may well have seen the end of that, but I think we're going to get more of that in the following episodes. We go back to the time just before the last episode. So we see Henry and Sam at the end of episode 4, and they cross paths with Joel and Ellie. In this episode, we start off with Kathy and her little crew of Fedra soldiers on the hunt for Henry. So in this episode, we start off with Henry and Sam. They sort of go through the motions of escaping the Fedra soldiers. We see the old guy interacting with Henry and saying to him, "What have you got? What supplies can you carry?" Henry shows him his gear, says to him he's got no ammo. The old guy's like, "Yeah, me neither. We're screwed. How are we going to get out?" And basically the old guy goes off on a little bit of a forage, trying to find some last minute supplies for him, Henry and Sam to get the hell out of Dodge and get away from the Fedra soldiers, but also escape the city full stop. So he goes on a little mission. We then see Kathy, who is interrogating the prisoners, and she's rounding people up in the city and trying to find out exactly where Henry is. She's got an absolute vendetta for the guy. She interrogates a few of them, none of them spill, and just as she's about to give the command to kill them all, wipe them out, all of them, style, one of them actually blabs and says, "Actually, I know where Henry is. He's in this building. He's in this part of the city. He's still here, blah, blah, blah." Kathy then comes across very cold and just says, you know, "Kill them all. We've got what we wanted." But the guy ratted him out. He's a rat. Burn them all. And burn the bodies because they burn faster. So in this episode, we get a little bit more of Kathy. She is very cold. I found in the last episode she was a little bit dry in terms of her character impact. I didn't find her threatening that much. She came across as a bit of a soccer mum, a bit of a Karen. But apart from that, no real threat. I don't really get the sense that she's threatening in this episode either, other than the way she delivers the dialogue is a bit better, I think, than the last episode. She just seems a bit more menacing. She seems a bit more cold-hearted, very driven, very determined to get what she wants. And the line where she says about burning the bodies because it's quicker, there was absolutely zero empathy for these people. They're not infected. They haven't turned. But she didn't bat an eyelid to getting them absolutely butchered after she got what she needed. So she's a bit of an ass. Came across a bit better, as I said, in this episode. We then cut to Henry and Sam, who have found the old stooge, as I was saying. He goes off to get some last-minute supplies. And then Henry and Sam are sort of cooped up in a apartment-type building. And they're just waiting for the guy to come back. Sam keeps saying, you know, "I'm hungry." Henry's like, "We're going to have to wait. We got to ration our food. We got to be careful." And Sam keeps saying how hungry he is. Henry occupies him by giving him some crayons and just saying, you know, give this place a little bit of a makeover. And they wait and wait and wait until nightfall. And as we know, the old guy got his head absolutely blasted off and he was turned into dog meat. Not literally, well, he might have been turned into dog meat in the last episode. So he's not coming back. Henry realizes this and says to Sam, "We've got to move on." It then ties in nicely to the end of the last episode where Henry and Sam finally bump into Joel and Ellie. So the scene cuts in nicely where Henry's sort of walking along. He finds the shards of glass that Joel lined as a trap in the last episode. They go into the room, and as we know it, time has now caught up with us. So we're in the present day. Henry and Sam have got Joel and Ellie at gunpoint, and it turns into a little bit of an interaction. So just shortly before this, we also see the previous scene in the previous episode where Joel and Ellie are in the car. Those raiders jump down. Joel crashes the car. Ellie shoots one of them. Joel then lets her have the gun. We see all that play out from the eyes of Henry, which I thought was pretty cool. We get the same story, but just from a different perspective. And I thought it kind of adds to the layer of depth to this TV series, but also it's nice to see a different character's point of view. They tried it with Bill and Frank, and it was a little bit mixed. But I think with Henry and Sam, they just want to survive. They want to get out. They just want to live. They're true survivalists, and they're doing everything they can. They're nice people, and it was nice to just see that from their perspective as well, and just to see sort of how they interact with Joel and Ellie, how their paths cross, and how the goals essentially are the same. Just get out, survive, endure, and survive, which is the name of the episode. So Henry then sort of says to Joel, you know, I trust you, I'm going to lower the gun. And Joel's kind of like, yeah, okay, fine. And then Henry's like, why is he talking in that asshole voice to Ellie? Ellie's like, that's just how he is. So we get a little bit of a sprinkled comedy in there. And Henry's really nervous. He doesn't want to hold a gun at anybody. We know from the prior scenes as well that in one of the guns at least, and I'm imagining it's the gun that Sam's holding because he's the child, there is no bullets in the gun. So Henry and Sam's story kind of parallel Joel and Ellie's, but aside from the fact they're completely different characters and Joel's a little bit colder and firmer, sort of the relationship between the two and the dynamic is the same. So we're seeing that here play out with Henry and Sam as well, which was nice. So then Henry's like saying to Joel, you know, I don't want to kill you. I'm going to trust you. Joel's like, yeah, fine. The guns get lowered. All is cool. And then Joel, it cuts to a scene where Joel's kind of talking to Henry and says, you know, what's your game? Who are you? Henry then says he's the most wanted man in Kansas City, talks about Joel and the federal soldiers and says, you know, they're after me. This woman called Kathy is out for my blood. I know stuff. And Joel's like, you're a rat. Okay, so yeah, you deserve to die. You deserve to be hunted. Henry's like, it's not like that. I'm a good guy. I'm just trying to get by and do what I need to do. There's more to the story that you don't know, all that kind of thing. And Joel's like, well, hell, you know, if you need to get out, we need you, you need us. Henry then convinces Joel that actually Joel needs Henry because Henry's got a very good sort of map of the city in his mind. He knows where all the best routes are. He knows how to get out. And Joel's kind of like, what's the catch then? Why do you need me? If you know everything, you know how to get out, why do you need me? And he kind of lets slip that there's lots of infected underground, or there have been over the past 15 years. The federal soldiers have essentially herded them underground, sealed them off, and has done a great job at actually keeping them underground this whole time. Joel's like, fuck no, I'm not going underground. Are you crazy? We're going to be killed alive underground, all that sort of thing. And Henry's like, no, it's fine. The federal soldiers cleared out a lot of them. There was a cleansing process like 3 years back. There's probably a few left, but not that many. We find out by the end of the episode there's quite a few left. But Henry's in the mindset of, you know what, it's fine. You guys have survived clickers. You've survived, you know, partial hordes and all that kind of thing. If you can handle yourself in those scenarios, we're going to be fine. So you come with us. We'll show you the way out. We all survive. Everyone's happy. Joel's kind of like, yeah, fine. Works. It makes sense. Let's do it. So they agreed to do that. Ellie and Sam at this point are also bonding over comic books and toys, and there's a superhero figure that Sam really sort of looks up to and sort of portrays onto himself. Again, it's the whole endure and survive sort of quip, the line that's said throughout the episode, and it ties into this comic book series as well about a superhero. So they're bonding quite well, and obviously with their ages, they're kind of closer in age together than Sam and Joel are to Henry and Ellie. And it's just kind of like nice to see Ellie actually interacting with someone her own, closer to her own age at least. And they just get on really well, and they just start trying to sort of share the innocence in all of it and trying to just be kids for once. Talking about the toys, they play sort of goal penalty shootout and stuff like that in the area. And then as they're doing this, Henry explains there's been some leukemia issues with Sam to Joel. Says about his struggle and basically just pours his heart out to him and just says, look, we're just like you. We've got our own problems. We want to get out of here too. It's not a great place to be. Nobody wants to be here. We're the good people. You're the good people. I can see that. Let's work together and let's get out. So as they're looking to escape, there's a little bit of a shootout in the scrapyard on the way to getting out in the darkness. A sniper is essentially trying to pick them off as they're crossing the scrapyard. They take cover behind a car. And Joel says to Ellie, you know, you need to stay still. I'm going to lure the guy out, or I'm going to basically go in from an angle and take the nutcase out permanently. Ellie's like, no, you're going to die. And Joel basically says, if you move, you're dead. I'm quicker than you. It doesn't matter if I get shot. You're too important. So already we're seeing Joel in a completely different mindset now and a completely different outlook towards Ellie than he was in episode 2, 3, even the first episode. So Joel is really, really trying his hardest to protect Ellie. He's in that mindset of what Tess said to him, what Bill said to him. He's lost Sarah. She's already kind of filled that role as daughter to Joel, so he's doing his absolute best to try and keep her alive. He says, no, I'm going to go for the sniper. So Henry, Sam, and Ellie are ducked behind a car. Joel manages to get into the house. At all this time, this guy is a terrible shot. He's taking pot shots at Joel with this rifle. Can't aim for shit. He's got stormtrooper type aiming.
Bro, you missed every shot. What you talking about, man? That man did... What?
And Joel manages to get into the building and he's pointing the gun at him. The old guy sort of looks and Joel says, please don't do it. Don't make me do it. As in, you turn that gun at me, I'm going to blow your head off. And I don't want to. Just give me the rifle. The old guy, we get a little shot where the old guy turns slightly and then it cuts away and we hear a gunshot. We obviously know Joel's murdered his ass. Next thing you know, Joel is reloading the rifle. So he gets a nice, tidy little sniper rifle now. Full attachments, hopefully, from the DMZ. Who knows? Takes out the... Just as he's taking the rifle, he's reloading it. On the radio, he overhears Kathy, who's saying to what was the old guy, don't worry about it. I can't hear you. The signal's bad. Don't worry, we're not far away. And Joel's like, oh, shit. So the whole convoy is coming to their location. Joel then shouts out to the other three, so Ellie, Sam, and Henry, to run, get the hell out of there. Next thing you know, you see this whole convoy of cars, armored trucks, rolling into the scrapyard. And Joel takes his aim. He takes shot at one of the trucks. Kathy basically says, ram through the cars, get to the front. And the person in the front gets absolutely smashed with the sniper rifle. Joel misses a couple of shots, which I kind of liked because all of a sudden he shouldn't be able to pick up a rifle and have dead aim and just start picking headshots off, although he does very quickly in the next scene, which was my only gripe. But he manages to take out the driver of the car. The car sort of smashes into the side of the building, and all of a sudden we're in deep shit because then all the other trucks roll up. Everyone gets out, goons everywhere. There's about 100 of them. Kathy's there, and she says, it's all over, Henry. You're in a dead end. I really liked, as I said, Kathy in this episode is a lot more cold. She comes across a lot more calculated, a lot more evil. She's lost her empathy. She's lost, if she had any, feelings. And I think in the last episode, she came across quite bland, quite vanilla. There was a lot of comments I saw online and a lot of reviews I read that people didn't like the way she was presented, and I didn't either. I liked the episode as a whole. I didn't think it took too much away from it. But the people that marked down the last episode said that the reason was that Kathy was just a bit vanilla. But I think she came out of her shell a little bit more in this episode, but I can understand the gripes in the last episode at least. I think the way she was saying about not sparing anybody, how to burn the bodies, it was all very emotionless, and I don't think that was bad acting. I think it was intentional. The way she delivers the dialogue, delivers the lines, the way she presented her character, and we saw a little bit of her backstory in the episode as well, which I won't spoil too much for you guys because you need to watch the episode. It is great. And she talks a lot about her own struggle. So everyone in this story, no matter what their agenda is, has their own personal drive and their reasons for doing what they're doing. So I'm not justifying Kathy as a character. I think she is a little bit of a filler character. Don't think she adds too much to the overarching story. But it was kind of nice that we get something a little bit different to the game that's not completely copied and pasted. And it was a good-ish attempt, although I felt we could have got her a little bit better in delivery in the last episode and for a little bit longer because she only lasts to the end of this episode. So we see her for 2 episodes. So I understand the gripes about her being a filler character and a little bit pointless, but I think, as I said, in this episode, she was presented a lot better compared to the prior one. But anyway, back to what's happening. So Kathy's saying to Henry, you need to come out from behind the car, it's over. Henry sort of looks at Ellie and says, get Sam out. The second I get out of here and I sort of surrender myself, you run. I don't know what he thought Ellie was going to do. There's hundreds of people that were stood with Kathy, all had rifles, all had weapons. I don't know why he thought all of a sudden Ellie was Usain Bolt had a pair of Air Maxes and was going to get out of there quicker than the Roadrunner. I don't know. But they were 2 kids. They weren't going to go anywhere. But anyway, he tries his best. He basically gives the whole sacrificial hero story. I'll give myself up, and it gives you time to get yourself and Sam out. So Ellie reluctantly agrees. Sam comes out, Henry comes out from behind the truck, says to Kathy, you know, you don't let the kids go, you don't need that. And Kathy, what I really liked about Kathy, and the one dialogue line that she delivers, she was like, nah, I'm not sparing anybody. The guy or the girl that's with the guy you're with killed a few of my guys, which Ellie did, and Sam's just trouble as well. Like, you know, there's reasons, and she's basically justifying murdering kids, which is great. You know, really, if you're gonna bring in a villain in this type of story, you need to have a villain that's gonna come out with some impactful lines, and people are actually gonna think, holy shit, you cold-hearted bitch. And that's kind of what she does. She's outright convincing herself that everyone needs to die. Children or not, age or not, they need to die. So she ain't worried about that. And just as they're about to sort of swarm in on them, you see the truck that crashed into the building, the one that Joel picked off and killed the driver. That's all of a sudden gone underground. The oil's gone everywhere. The building was on fire. And all of a sudden the earth opens up and you see the truck sort of slowly submerging underground. You hear a little bit of a squeal, a little bit of a scream in the distance, kind of like that scene in Lord of the Rings when they're in the mines of Moria and Pippin drops the skeleton down the well. That's happening.
Fool of a took. Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
We then get an almighty action scene, and it was probably, I can imagine, everybody's favourite scene from this episode, apart from like the bonding between Sam and Ellie, which is my personal favourite. But the truck submerges underground, and we see our first proper up-close and personal horde, but also the introduction of the long-awaited bloater monster, and by God is he a beast. So loads and loads of them come running out, clickers, stalkers, and a massive bloater who's been on a lot of spinach, a lot of steroids. He's ready to smash someone's face in. So that whole theory that Henry thought the underground was clear is absolute bullshit. They just literally contained them under there. Nobody wanted to go under. They were kind of like caged animals, and now they are out, ready to feed, ready to kill. So loads of them pour out of the ground. Great CGI. Loads and loads of amazing sort of bodily movements, acting from the stand-ins. And I got to tip my hat to the people that play like the stalkers, the clickers. They don't get as much credit as the main actors do. But every single person that played a stalker and a clicker, even the bloater in this episode, and I think just generally, all of them act it out phenomenally well. If they have to come in with like weird bodily movements, head twitching and sounds, it's very difficult, I think, to act that out in a way that's not cheesy, that's not kind of B-movie horror, and doesn't feel cheap. But it didn't at all feel cheap. None of them looked awkward. None of them looked sort of stiff, mannequin-like, and it all felt genuine. It felt like they were possessed by a fungi that was causing them to eat people. And, you know, hats off to them. I have to give credit where it's due, and especially those side actors, as I call it, the stand-ins, the supporting roles in this TV series has been excellent, and this scene just absolutely reinforced it for me. I thought, holy shit, this is amazing. So we get a very, very out there, action-packed cinematic sequence where the soldiers, the Fedra guys, are trying to fend off the horde. They kind of turn their attention away from Henry, and they start unloading lead on these fuckers. So chaos ensues. All the while, Ellie's trying to run away and get away from the chaos. Joel's doing cover and fire from the window with his sniper rifle. The one personal gripe I had is like, hang on a minute, all of a sudden, Joel's got a sniper rifle. He's taking people out. He's not just hitting, you know, a shot here and there, which would have been more believable. He is taking these fuckers out clean. And whilst I liked it in terms of how sort of clean and crisp it looked, a second ago, this guy wasn't too sure how to reload the rifle. Now, all of a sudden, he's picking people off like he's playing Sniper Elite 5. He's like a marksman from World War II, all of a sudden. So it didn't really make sense, but I get why they did it. They added it for effect in the scene and just to basically give the impression that Joel is trying his absolute hardest and is focusing and is using all his sort of willpower and his gun ability, basically, to cover Ellie and to keep her safe. So I kind of get why they did it, but it was just a minor gripe. Doesn't take anything away from the scene, didn't take anything away from the credibility of it. I just thought it was a little bit odd. He went from level 1 to level 100 prestige all of a sudden, but there you go. We also see an amazing scene. As I said, the bloater comes out, chases down the main guy. I can't remember what his name is, the main soldier for Kathy, rips his head off, and I'm like, yes, this is it. Kathy's going to get it. And she does, but she doesn't get it by the bloater. We then see this amazing, which I thought it could be a teenager, but I think it was a child actor. We see a small clicker come running out. Ellie dives into what I think is like a school bus or a coach, and she's trying to weave in between the seats, and this sort of like clicker comes in the back and sort of bends over the seat, does a little like gymnastic bend arch over the seat and just moves like a snake through the seat. And I thought, that's amazing. Just the way it looked, it felt creepy, it felt tense. You really felt Ellie struggle and trying to get the fuck out of that car or bus or whatever it was, truck. And all the while she's being sort of chased by this thing. I think it made it a little bit creepier that it was a child. It kind of made me feel that no one's free of this virus. No one's free, innocent. If it's a kid, you know, it makes it even creepier. I don't know why, but kids in horror films, kids in horror sort of sequences like this add extra tension to it. And I'm like, holy shit, that looks absolutely nasty, but great at the same time. And this child clicker is after Ellie big style. She wants to give herself a little bit of a early Valentine's steak by trying to chomp on Ellie. So Ellie manages to get away, and also in true Ellie fashion, what she does is save Sam and Henry. So they're getting attacked by clickers as well. The child clicker goes after Kathy, which is the distraction, because Kathy's about to shoot Ellie in the face. The child clicker has a good go on Kathy, rains down monkey fist punches on her head, but I was like, yes, Kathy's done. Kathy is no more. R.I.P. But a bit of a wasted character, a bit of a wasted effort, I think. They could have put her in a bit sooner, or maybe made her last a little bit longer. Maybe she would have survived this attack and then go on to become a real nasty piece of work, seeking out revenge and seeking out Henry all the more so, and just building on that sort of tenacity of her character a bit. I don't think we had enough time with her to really appreciate what she could have done. But anyway, she's dead. She gets monkey fisted to hell. And then we cut to Joel and Henry talking about responsibilities. So everybody's safe. As I said, Ellie saves Henry and Sam, gives the clickers a good shiv, and they all manage to get out of there whilst Joel is giving covery fire. So what I assume happens is all the federal soldiers are dead. The undead that was underground are now roaming free. The animals are out the zoo. The bloater is sort of wandering around as well, causing chaos. So they escape. And then we cut to Joel and Henry talking about the Endure and Survive comic. Ellie and Sam are bonding about this book that they found, talking about a superhero. I think it might be a TV show as well, but Ellie's kind of saying to Sam, you know, yeah, this is my favorite. And they sort of share quips from the show and the book. And Joel's asking Henry about it as well. And then Henry's like, yeah, you know, how ironic, Endure and Survive, and look at where we are, look at the situation we're in. And then he just talks to Joel about his responsibilities and shares the responsibilities of an adult and a father, and just that basically that he misses that innocence that Sam and Ellie have, where they're only really responsible for themselves. They don't have that extra responsibility of trying to protect each other. And Joel kind of appreciates it. So Joel kind of says, do you know what? And this is the point, the sort of the penny drops with Joel, and he realizes that Henry is actually a good guy. He says to him, it's up to you. It's going to be a bit of a walk, but I'm heading to Wyoming. You're more than welcome to. And just as he's about to say, join us, Henry, without hesitation, jumps in. Yeah, we'll come. We're there, you know. So they've built up that relationship. They've built up that respect for each other. They're both two guys trying to do what's absolutely best for their kids and their family. All they have is each other, and all they have is their kids as well. So they now understand through what they've just been through that safety in this case is in numbers. So, touching scene. We then move on to Ellie and Sam, who are using an Etch-a-Sketch to bond and talk because Sam is unable to speak and they're talking through sign language, or at least Henry and Sam do. And in this scene, we see Ellie and Sam on a nice level bonding through an Etch-a-Sketch. So they're talking to each other, they're writing it down, talking about the comic, they're talking about what scares them, and they're having a bonding scene similar to the scene we just witnessed with Henry and Joel, but this time we're seeing it in sort of like a kid's perspective. So we're seeing Sam and Ellie bonding on a childlike level. So they're communicating through the Etch-a-Sketch, and it's just nice because you see one side of it, the adults bonding on a relationship level, being adults, talking openly, respecting each other, saying, yep, you're here to do what I'm here to do, let's stick together. And then we're now actually seeing the other side of it, the child perspective, where they're sharing a toy to communicate their feelings, but they're also taking a bit more time to be open about their feelings, but they are doing it, and they use inanimate objects and they use things around them to communicate better, which kids do. So it was a nice little touch, great writing. I liked the scene, and it's quite touching because Sam says, you know, what are you scared of? What scares you? And Ellie's like, do I look scared? And Sam's like, no. And Ellie's like, well, actually, I'm scared all the time. And he said, of what? And Ellie's kind of like, I'm scared of being alone. Sam's like, yeah, I get that, me too. And then he asks a question about, you know, what happens? Do you still be yourself if you get bitten? And Ellie's like, what do you mean? And he kind of shows Ellie a bite. So Sam's been bitten on the leg. Ellie's like, oh, shit. Then she says to him that her blood is the cure. She has something in her blood that is able to remove or at least prevent the onslaught of the virus and stop things happening. Ellie, being the innocent child that she is, sort of cuts herself with a knife on the hand, rubs her blood over Sam's bite in the hopes that the antibodies within the blood would act. But obviously we know it's not going to work that way. She needs to have like a fully vaccinated process. They need to extract blood, make sure the spindle techniques, all that shit. I'm not a scientist, by the way, but we know a vaccine doesn't work by smearing blood on somebody. Quite the opposite sometimes. So Ellie tries her best. She obviously doesn't want Sam to die, so she tries her luck. And then Sam writes on the Etch-a-Sketch, would you stay with me tonight? Would you stay awake with me? And Ellie's like, yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that played the game, again, it's another one of those scenes. We knew it was coming with Tess, and we know if you've played the game that Henry and Sam are going to die. They're not long in the game. They're not around much in the game, only save a few scenes. And this is exactly what we see in the TV series. So another great adaptation from the game, another great sort of lift and implement from the game screen to the TV screen. I thought it was done beautifully. I know that Sam was going to die. I know he was going to turn. But again, the way they delivered it was absolutely fantastic. And we saw the same with Sarah in the first episode. We knew she was going to die, and we knew the manner of which she was going to die, but it still absolutely hit home when she did, and the reason she did, and why she did. And it was exactly the same here. I felt absolutely gobsmacked and heartbroken for Sam. Henry especially, because he had to make a snap decision. So what we then see is sort of Sam sat at the end of the bed. We see the back of him. Ellie's kind of like saying, Sam, I don't know why she's calling out to him, because he can't hear you anyway. But we just know what's coming. We know he's already turned. Classic horror style where you've got a zombie. You see the back of their head, and as you spin them around, they're already turned. We see it in games like Resident Evil, all those classic zombie films, 28 Days Later, World War Z does it as well, where you sort of got that panning shot of the back of the head and you think, yeah, they're a zombie, you're going to get chewed on. But Ellie's just holding on to that small ounce of hope that Sam is okay, that he's just spaced out, he's just worried, but nah, he's gone. So she slowly sort of pulls Sam around. He goes absolutely mental. He's already turned. His face is all fucked. His eyes have gone all glazed over, and he tries to take a chunk out of Ellie. Chases her out of the room, sort of pounces on her, pins her down, and tries to take a bite out of her, and she's sort of slowly but surely keeping him off. Joel overhears it, rushes to his feet, and then Henry runs in as well, and he realizes what's going on. So Joel is about to run and get Sam the hell off of Ellie, and obviously do what he needs to do, i.e. kill him to save Ellie. But Henry's not having it. He's looking at the situation. He's got the gun pointed at Joel, and he's looking like thinking, oh shit, like, I'm seeing what's happening, but you're not going to kill him. If anyone has to, I do. And then within a snapshot, he turns, shoots Sam in the head, brutally killing him, and he just sort of falls off of Ellie. Joel then sort of runs over to Ellie, checks if she's okay. She's like, yeah, I'm fine. Henry then realizes what he's done. He's absolutely just murdered his brother. I think it's his brother. It might be his son, but I'm sure it's his brother. And he's just sort of stood there shaking. He slowly points the gun at Joel, and Joel's kind of like, look, you did what you had to do. Give me the gun. Calm down. Breathe. And you can see the conflict in Henry's face. He's looking at Joel. He's looking at Ellie. Then he's looking at Sam. He's then processing the thought of, actually, I am now alone. And it's one of the things that Sam particularly was scared of. Henry was scared of it too, but they had each other at least. But now he's realized that because Sam is gone, Henry is alone, and he loses all willpower to carry on. He thinks there's no point carrying on doing this life, trying to endure and survive if my brother is now dead. So he turns the gun on himself, blows his own head off. So very emotional, very sort of packed scene. Everything happens very quickly, but it's there for dramatic effect. 1 minute you're sort of watching Henry pour his heart out to Joel, and then you're watching Ellie pour her heart out to Sam, and Sam's saying that he's worried about being alone, and there's a nice little bond going on, and then they're all gonna agree to go to Wyoming together. There's a nice little group, and it feels great, and they're sharing food, and the kids are using the toys that they find in the settlement, and all of a sudden Sam's dead. Well, he's turned into a zombie. He's turned into a stalker infected mushroom type creature. Goes for Ellie, tries to take a chunk out of her. His own brother has had to kill him to basically stop the infection spreading. He's acted on the greater good, but could you do it? It's a moral choice that he's had to put him down. Didn't want to live with that choice, didn't want to live with the regret, and didn't want to live alone, so he ends up killing himself. And it's an absolutely brutal but emotional scene, and I think it happens exactly like it does in the game. But again, it's another scene where they delivered it excellently. The characters themselves, the dialogue, the way the body language is, the voice acting, the emotion, sort of the quivers in the throat and the voice is delivered amazingly, and it's believable. It's something that I came away at the end of the episode thinking, holy shit, that's another thing they've done amazingly well from the game. I knew this was coming, I knew this was happening, but it still hit home. And my partner was saying to me, she was like, did you know that was going to happen? I was like, yeah. She was like, but you still kind of look a bit shaken by it. Like, how can you be shaken by it if you knew it was going to happen? Surely it's okay. And I was like, but this is just the extent of the acting, how good that this is being delivered to us. If we know something's going to happen, but we still watch it, we're still shocked, we're still in awe, we're still surprised, we're still a bit like, oh, Jesus, we still get hit in the moral balls, then they've done their job. And I think this TV series does that a lot. So there we go. Shoots himself, Henry's dead, Sam is dead. We then end the episode with Joel and Ellie sort of saying their goodbyes. There's a touching scene where Ellie sort of writes an RIP type message on the Etch-a-Sketch, which is what she was using to speak to Sam with. They bury the two bodies, and then they pick up their backpacks and they're making their way out west towards Wyoming to find Sam. So end of episode. So for me, another solid entry in the TV series. A couple of little gripes. One thing again is Kathy. Did we need her in there? I don't know. I started to warm to the character a little bit in this episode, only because the dialogue was changing massively. The way she was delivering the dialogue was a bit more intentional. She came across a bit more cold, a bit more calculated, bent on revenge, bent on selfishness. Even like kids, she didn't care who it was, age, race, whatever it is. You're going to die and you're not getting in her way. Like most people go, well, it's a kid, you can't kill it. But she's like, no, everybody's the same. Fuck them, burn them alive. And it's kind of like that. So it's an intentional character arc. And it's a shame, I think, we didn't get more time with Kathy. But for me, I don't think personally Kathy needed to be in there. I kind of get why they did it. I kind of get why they tried to go down a little bit of a different route with Kathy's character. But I don't think overall she was needed for this series. It could have gone on absolutely fine without her. Could have gone on absolutely fine with just a secondary type character being in there to carry the plot through a little bit. But anyway, she's dead. I loved the horde scene. I loved the child clicker especially was disturbing as you like. And obviously we got introduced to the very first bloater as well, which is obviously the final stage of the virus in full form. Steroids, steak and egg for tea every day, fish, and this guy came in and ripped some people's heads off, and it was nice to just see the extent of what the virus can do. There were some action scenes in there. I love the sniping scenes as well, and just the character building, the relationships as well. It kind of went a little bit Game of Thrones on us. We got used to some nice new characters in Sam and Henry. We warmed to them quite quickly, got used to that sort of bonding going on between the characters, and it's great, they're all going to go to Wyoming together, and they're all collectively sharing their food, and they're talking about the great times, and they're being honest and sharing their worries, and they're all scared about being alone, and it's all going to work out great, right? No. Dead. 2 of them dead. Main characters, bang, gone, dead. So it did go a little bit Game of Thrones on us, but that is what happens in the game. So I'm glad it didn't steer from that, because, as I said before, if it works, if it's got emotional impact and it's part of the game and it helps drives the story, it helps drives the emotion of what we're watching, then keep it in. And I'm glad they did. So RIP to Sam and Henry. Fuck you to Kathy. But, in a side note, it would have been nice to get a bit more time with her to see where her character could have gone. I personally would have kept her alive after the little massacre of her soldiers, and then get her to kind of be that sort of, that vengeance type character, completely driven, completely unwavered, someone that comes in that's driven by getting Joel snuffed out. Henry's dead, so she's probably might figure that out later on, but really get her to be a pain in the ass and get her to come back giving honest threats to the story. So, but anyway, she's dead as well. And as I said, I really like the CGI in this episode. I love the sort of standing characters, the standing actors, the guys that play the clickers, the guys that play the stalkers, the bloater especially was great. I know that was a lot of it was CGI, but even with the movements, the bodily, just the acting itself, the body acting was absolutely amazing. It was believable. The noises are creepy. And I think overall it was another great episode. We're moving closer to Wyoming. We spent some nice time with Sam and Henry, but RIP, they're gone. So if I was to give this episode a rating, it's another very happy, very solid 10 out of 10. Absolutely loving this TV series. I think it's, as I said, I keep saying it, I'm going to say it until we get a shit episode. It's the best video game adaptation we have seen thus far, and I hope it continues to go that way. I think we've got 9 episodes to look forward to, so another 4 to go after this one, but very pleased. Minor gripes, as I said, the whole Joel rifle thing. 1 minute he's trying to reload the rifle, he can't do it, he's missing shots, and the next minute he's doing headshots and he's level 100 prestige and he's got aimbot assist or something. That aside, Kathy's character was a little bit of a waste of time. Other than those 2 little things in this episode, I think it was great. As I said, love the interaction. I love Henry and Sam's actors as well. They delivered the dialogue especially, but also the relationship. To build something up in such a small space of time and to get the audience to care about their characters before they're ultimately binned off is impressive, considering we've only had them for an episode, but it feels like we've known them for ages, and I think if they're able to do that, they've done their job. So again, great effort by Pedro and Bella in terms of Joel and Ellie's character arc in this episode, and also the whole story. The bonding continues to grow. Joel is firmly now on Ellie's side. They're great together, and we're only going to see that relationship boom even more in the coming episodes when we know what's coming is coming. So great episode. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of the episode. Is there anything you think you'd like to see differently? Did you enjoy the episode, or is there any concerns about anything that you're gonna see coming up in the TV series, or were you happy with it as much as I was? I thought it was fantastic. As someone that's played the game, as someone that's played the original, the remaster, The Last of Us Part 2. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I love the concept of it. The whole zombie thing, but it's got its own twist to it. I really like how they've delivered it. I like how they've gone down this route of essentially lifting the best bits from the game and delivering it onto our screens, but in a way that also shocks you, surprises you, makes you happy, makes you sad, and just drives those emotions forward that you get when you play the game for the first time. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think we're going to be seeing more and more of this in the final 4 episodes. I don't want it to end, but I just hope. My only worry, if I was being honest right now about looking ahead, my only worry is, how are we going to get season 2, episode 2, part 2? That needs to change. I hope we're not going to get a lift and pace of that, because there's a few things wrong with it, and I imagine you guys are going to be feeling the same. So hopefully they take a little bit of a spin, they take a little bit of a twist, and they change some stuff for season 2. But as this stands, as it looks now, for this episode, 10 out of 10. I think the whole season's going to be a 9 or a 10 out of 10 for me, unless it drastically nosedives from here on out, but I can't see that happening based on what I've seen so far. Direction and all that kind of thing's been great. The way the characters have been delivered has been great. Dialogue's fantastic. CGI is fantastic. Most of the scenes, most of the action's believable. There's Easter eggs in there. It's the Last of Us gamers' masterpiece. And it's about time we get something that we really deserve on our screens as well. So there we go. That's my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for watching. Peace.